Aaron, why don't we go ahead and kick this off? Are you there, buddy?
I'm here.
All right. Listen, y'all, we have an exciting time today. We're gonna be doing a live webinar and Q&A session with archery professional Aaron Barton from Hoffy's Archery there in Lampasas. Aaron, I'll be honest, there's been overwhelming support for this thing. We have quite a few people on the phone. I'm excited that folks are tuning in to listen. Let's dig right in, if you don't mind, and get started. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
All right, Patrick. I'll try to. I'm pretty blasé in a sense. Pretty much been in the archery industry, I guess you could say, for going on probably 8 years, I believe. Yeah, about 8 years. Born in Texas, went to live in Lampasas. Went to school, kindergarten through 12th. Married to my wife for 14 years, Katie. I have a little 10-year-old little girl named Scout. I'm pretty boring in a sense, man. I'm kind of a home.
Does your little girl hunt?
She does. This year I got her involved. She's a little, body type wise, it's a little harder for her to hold up a compound that will do any kind of that has any kind of lethality to it. So we've got her into the crossbow realm of things, and she's really enjoying that. So my wife, I'm going to do my best to convert her over, but you gotta. It's an attrition thing. You don't want to just dive into it a lot of times, and some women are definitely willing to jump into the game, but you got to. It depends. It really depends on who your spouse is, but no doubt. No, it's I'm Patrick. I could go bore people with details about what I like to do, but I'm an archery enthusiast, to be honest with you. I love everything about archery. I love everything about the outdoor industry, and I enjoy helping people. To basically summarize it, there's definitely a need out there for there's definitely a need out there for people that need real help with archery questions and in regards to the industry. There's a lot of good places to go, but a lot of people that don't want to answer questions possibly, or there's not very many approachable environments, should I say.
Yeah, no doubt. Look, I think one of the most difficult things for folks in this business is they don't know how to get in. It's not like shooting a gun. It's not like something that we've done as kids for years. Most of us grew up with a BB gun in our hands, and it's just not like that. In many shops around the country, you walk into an archery shop, and I've been a shooter for a long time, and I certainly don't consider myself a professional, but you walk into one of those shops, and it seems to be an environment where you're almost an outsider. If you walk into any gun shop in Texas, you're welcomed with open arms, and you walk into an archery shop and they look at you funny. And so I do want to dig into that. I want to tell you and Lee down there at Hoffy's Archery that y'all do a great job welcoming people. I'll be honest, the first time I showed up, I got in there and I drove into the parking lot of a car dealership, and I thought, what in the world did I get myself into? But you've built one heck of a shop down there. And so tell a little bit about the shop, how it got started, what you offered there in Lampasas, because that's important. I think finding the right shop for folks is just as big as finding the right bow. Tell us a little bit about that place.
Sure. I was told by a person in the archery industry, there's a few things, and I might mess this thing up, but there's when somebody moves new to a town, there's a couple of things that people look for. They look for a good church, a good doctor, and I've heard the third thing, which I think this is arguable, but they look for a good pro shop. If you're a real archery enthusiast, you do. So to answer your question, Lee and I had, to kind of summarize, I guess it's we formed this shop out of a need for me for follow through, I guess you could say. I'd worked here at a local place, and it was just time for me to move on. So Lee's like, Aaron, I got a home for you. I got a home for you. If you want to do what you want to do, I'll set you up and we'll put you into business immediately. So I jumped at the opportunity to continue to do what I love and my passion, and it developed into a huge following that has followed me, and then it's a huge blessing to have the people that have believed in me from day one, and the brands that we carry. That's definitely an attraction. But I would say probably more than anything that what we do here at Hoffy's Archery is it's about it's the personnel. You can have all the greatest stuff in the world under a roof and advertise it as much as possible, but if you don't have the right people behind the counter to care, to truly care about what they do, and to help the people that are spending, Patrick, discretionary dollars that they do not have to spend and they do not have to step foot in your door. This is my livelihood, and I don't take it for granted. I work hard every day. We all work hard every day to make sure that we're gaining a new customer base, and more importantly, a relationship. I mean, it sounds cliche, but it's a true statement. We're growing daily. We're running out of real estate very quickly. In a year and a half time, we have, you wonder how you're going to fill a building up. Now we're trying to figure out where we could put everything. So we pride ourselves, and I know you hear a lot of places talk about customer service. That's our number one thing. Well, that's words. That's all that is. That's words. We back it up. I reassure you. I tell people, listen, it might be a long drive for you. We hear people say, well, it's a long ways. It's an hour away or it's 30 minutes away. But listen, we have people making out-of-state trip. We have people coming from the Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, San Antonio, Austin area to come and see us. And when they do get here, they're not. We don't let them down, and we don't do it superficially. It's shown by our actions and what we do behind the counter and after the sale, for sure. So that's a little bit about us.
Yeah, well, listen, I can attest to that. I drove up there. I'm a Matthews shooter, and I drove up there with my no cam in hand to kind of get it tweaked up, tuned up, and just ready for the summer after a long season of shooting. And by God, you sold me another bow. So I can definitely attest to the fact that you guys take pride in customer service and help me out. And you still have my Matthews to tune up. So somehow I walked in with a really good bow and walked out with a really good bow. So I tell you, your customer service is first class. And I'm excited that we're getting to showcase the shop. But look, let's dive right into the meat and potatoes of this deal. Talk about Matthews. You just signed Matthews. I guess you guys are a new Matthews dealer as of yesterday, correct?
As of yesterday, yeah. Matthews and Mission. That's a relationship that's been, a very good one for me in the past. And when I left, the past place I was at, of course we didn't have Matthews at the time. Which is fine. It's no big deal. There's contractual agreements and what have you and legalities, but that come with those terms. But whenever I got a text and then it ended up being a phone call from my sales rep there at Matthews, Ryan Winchell, I was kind of still trying to process it. As far as I was like, man, this is a great accomplishment. This is a great this is what we need in a sense. I mean, there's everybody makes a great bow, but it's nice to have a company like Matthews join forces with us, just from an innovation part. They play a vital role in the archery industry, from their youth programs all the way down to, all the way up to their high-end bows. I mean, it's a great company, and it's, they have phenomenal customer service. They make a great product. They do what they say, and they say what they do. And that's who we want to associate with. And I think they felt the same. So that's a huge blessing to us, for sure.
Well, there's going to be a lot of guys out there that are shooting other things, Hoyt, Elite, the list goes on and on out there. But I want to talk to you about the new technology in bows. what's out there, what's trending, and are there anything that people should steer clear of? Is the technology, are there better technologies than others for people that are committed to shooting?
I'll tell you this, whether somebody has a bow from the late 1970s or a bow from a current year model from 2017, these bows all will shoot an arrow. Back in the day, in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, there was a lot of the trend was overdraws with, a 60% let off with as short as arrows you could shoot at 80 to 90 pounds. I mean, these guys were trying to get an aluminum arrow to get over 250 to 300 foot a second was a macho, it was definitely a macho thing. You could stick your chest out, but the result of the end result of that was shoulder issues. And what we're seeing now, and it's kind of a burned out statement, but we get a lot of customers that come in and say, I can't shoot a bow anymore. I can't, my shoulder hurts. We understand that, there's injuries that occur, but we tell people, listen, have you shot a newer bow from, 3, 5 years, even 8, 10 years? Have you shot? No, I really haven't. Well, what has changed in the archery industry, 10 years ago, 10 years in the archery industry is an eternity, just because of everything's changing, the technology is changing, the engineers are just, they're trading off punches back and forth with different designs. So the trend that we're seeing a lot now is an easier drawing bow, a more stable bow, a higher let-off bow, which has been, a big trend in the past 3 to 4 years is, to shoot 65 to 70%, 8, 10, 15 years ago wasn't uncommon. Well, now we have 80 to 90% let-off bows. I mean, you have a 60-pound bow, your holding weight is approximately, it could be as low as 5 pounds. 5 to 6 pounds is all you're holding back. So that's a big difference compared to holding 20 to 25 pounds back. So, you'll be able to hold back longer. The reason why a lot of people don't draw their bows in the moment of truth is because they know that they might have to hold it back for an extended period of time, and most people can't. So what the higher let-off bows do, they allow you to draw earlier before that animal shows up into that, or your dwell time on a target is going to be longer, meaning you're going to be able to hold that bow back for an extended period of time without your muscles and everything collapsing and, you fatiguing on something or fatiguing on your bow. Other trends have been, obviously they've gotten quieter. They've always resorted to smaller axle bows, but they cover the gamut now. There's a lot of manufacturers that are listening to the general consumers out there and saying, as a whole, and saying, you know what, we need to build a longer axle to axle bow. We need to build a smaller one. We need to find something in the middle. We need to try to find, and it's tough. We get it. It's hard to, form one design for everybody, but the archery industry as a whole does a very good job of that. Other trends could possibly be, I wouldn't say trends. I think people are becoming more educated at it, and they're asking for different things that are going to give different performance. Crossbows have definitely come a long way. I wasn't an advocate of crossbows in a sense prior to me knowing much about them. You don't know what you don't know. I think they're a great tool. I think they're a great tool for transitioning somebody from a long arm shotgun rifle into the archery industry. You still have to be close. So there's a lot of good stuff that's coming down the pipe. I think Texas has had it for about 6 years, 5 to 6 years, where it's illegal to hunt with a crossbow during archery season. So you have a lot of different options as a hunter that are thinking about, you want to extend your archery season. You want to extend your hunting season a month longer. Well, archery, definitely is the way to do it. And regardless of what you choose, whether it be traditional equipment, compound, or crossbow, the sky's the limit. It's just, we just say, hey, if you've got questions, call us, ask us. We'll be glad to answer those questions, figure out what's going to be best for you.
Yep. Well, listen, so we've talked a little bit about bows. Everybody always asks, what do you shoot? What do you shoot, bud?
Oh gosh, that's probably currently right now. I'm shooting a PSE Carbon Air with the Evolve cam system. I've just found that bow, granted, it's just I like a lightweight bow. Don't get me wrong. My style of hunting is just tailored to a more mobile approach. And generally, and I might get shot for this, but I don't shoot a long distance. I practice a little bit long, but when it comes down to a live animal in front of you, I want to know that when I get back to full draw, that 100%, I'm confident that I can make that shot. And around here in Texas, which is mainly where I hunt, I don't get out abroad very, very much. You're looking at no longer than a 20 to 30 yard shot max, generally speaking. I mean, we have deer that are definitely amped up on something around here in the Central Texas area. So, they're definitely string jumpers. But currently, yeah, that's what I'm shooting. I've definitely got my eye on I talked to Ryan, my sales rep, and definitely looking at that Halon 32 Matthews coming out. It's got a lot of performance to it. It's got some qualities that I might be looking for in a bow. So, it's just like you can't, for me personally, I know you can only shoot one gun at a time. You can only shoot one bow at a time, but it doesn't hurt to have multiple choices, should I say.
Hey, listen, I'm living proof of that. I get it. I always tell people there's a bow for every man, like there's a handbag for every woman. Once you get your bow, talk a little bit about the improvements you can make to it. Say somebody settles on a bow that they really like. What are the improvements they can make to keep their bow interesting, to keep it fresh, to fine tune it and tweak it? Talk a little bit about that if you don't mind.
Sure. Everybody's got a budget. Therefore, not all accessories are made the same. From a sight standpoint, from a rest standpoint, from a quiver standpoint, everybody's got to figure out where they want to upgrade or where they want to stay at in terms of upgrades. It's not that you're buying a better mousetrap. A lot of times it just depends. Some guys might want to. Here's a good example. A lot of guys with as fast as these bows are shooting nowadays, a lot of times with a 3-pin or 5-pin design, there's a lot of clutter there, and therefore everything tightens up. So your first, second, and third pin are pretty much grouped together. So we're seeing a lot of guys that will want to transition to a single pin sight, for the clarity. And again, if you're shooting 20 to 25 yards and even 30 yards, a lot of these bows are very flat shooting, and you can cover that just with one pin. There's different drop away rest with the rest now. You've got the full containment rest that don't have any moving parts, which are the whisker biscuit type. And then you have your full containment drop aways, which are nice because you have no fletching clearance, you have no fletching issues or contact issues once the drop away has been timed right. In terms of tuning, this is where, how deep do you want to go with this, Patrick? It gets pretty deep, that rabbit hole. Probably one of the most important things is if you feel like, I'll tell you what I'll do. How about I kind of go through, accuracy things. Let's just say this, as far as upgrades. If you feel like your bow is not as accurate as it should be, I definitely take it into a pro shop and tell them, listen, I don't feel like this is doing this and this is X, Y, and Z. We've worked with people before where it's a peep sight alignment, where the peep's not rotating all the way around, or worse yet, your anchor point is too low. Their anchor point is too high, so therefore they're having to creep their head down. The cam timing could very well be off, causing erratic arrow flight. You could have fletching contact. It's so hard to diagnose a bow over the phone with people. It's almost like, we're not trying to get you to come in, but that's about the only way. If you're having issues, it's hard to solve. It's hard for a doctor to diagnose what you have from your couch. So it's about the best way I can explain it is, listen, if you're, tuning issues, that's a whole nother thing. Different things you can add to your bow, are going to be honestly dictated by, possibly the tuning issues, So, I mean, I know that's kind of a generic answer to your question. It gets really deep, Patrick, that rabbit hole.
Sure. No, and I think that's what I agree, and I think that's what folks are really interested in is you get these bow setups, and too often a bow hunter will walk in and change the bow out. He'll go from a bow that he really loves the feel of and thinks, at least they get into this mentality of thinking they have to go upgrade the whole bow instead of looking at options to just make his or her bow better. And so I'm glad that you took a little time to explain how you can do that, because it's important for people to know that they can upgrade the equipment on that bow for a fraction of the cost that they would have to put into buying a new bow and buying a new setup and everything like that.
I cannot tell you how many times that I have somebody comes in, they're looking to buy a bow. Now, I guess, you know what, I can deal with it, but it's a lot of times it's like somebody's like, man, I want to buy a new bow. I just don't like this one. I ask them what's wrong with it, and they're like, hey, it's just not shooting good. It doesn't feel good. Something's wrong with it. I think I just need to get rid of it. And it might just be a form issue with them. They've learned the wrong way for so long that their mind is just wrapped around, this is the way I've got to do it. When we work with them for 5 to 10 minutes, it totally changes the dynamics of how that bow shoots. I didn't sell them a new bow, but guess what? They walked out of here with the confidence knowing, you know what, man, that guy didn't try to sell me a bow, or that employee didn't try to sell me this. So the next time they do buy a bow, they're coming to us because we didn't try to upsell them on something. And I've been into those places. I've been into not archery places in general, but just those retail places in general. And, people get accustomed to getting behind the counter, and they forget where, they come into work and it's the mundane same thing every day. It's the same thing. And they don't, and you get into patterns in life. But what I try to do, and what I try to implement every day, listen, these people that are coming here are new, whether they're new customers or old customers, they just want help. They're in here. They might need this. They might need that. They might need a complete makeover. But, try to look at it from their standpoint that, again, they're discretionary dollars. These people need help. They're supporting your livelihood. So, take the time, show some compassion towards them, show them that their money is worth it. Not only that, but their time and stuff that we're going to spend with them is going to be definitely worth it. Their success is our success. I mean, honestly, not to sound cheesy on that, but it is. It's true. I mean, I love seeing people come in. They're like, man, look at my little boy shot, or look at my wife shot, or look what I shot. And, they're happy. They're happy. They're willing to spend money, willing to spend that money then. I mean, if I'm happy and I'm doing good, I want to walk into a place that is taking the time to help me.
Sure. So I'm going to transition a little bit on you and go to arrows.
Okay.
I tell you, the arrow technology just seems to get better and better every year. Talk to me a little bit about what's new out there in arrows, and what someone can do to help improve their setup if they haven't really looked at improving their arrows.
Okay, this is probably one of my favorite topics, and I get really, and this gets way deeper than the bows, but this is your ammo. This is the business end of the deal. This is what makes or breaks. If the bow's in tune, this generally has a lot to do with success and failure, is your arrow and your broadhead selection. From a upgrade standpoint, if people aren't getting the, our game, and I'm talking about hunting, not so much target archery, but our game works off of hemorrhaging, it works off of lethality, it works off of penetration, plain and simple. Without those factors involved in your arrow setup, you're playing a game of a numbers game. You want to up your chances on recovery. You want to up your chances on lethality. Yeah, you can definitely shot placement is a part of it, but you need an arrow that's going to have the momentum-based energy to get through that animal, regardless if you're shooting a 2-inch mechanical or you're shooting an inch cut fixed blade. So, as far as arrows are concerned, I would say look for an arrow and look for an arrow manufacturer that factors in what we call front of center. I'm a huge front of center guy as far as what that means, meaning the weight is shifted up to the front end of that arrow. What that does in relationship to accuracy and penetration is it pulls the rest of that arrow with it. I mean, you take a baseball and a string and you throw it. Well, the string's just along for the ride. So it's going to have better aerodynamic qualities. You're going to have less wind drift at longer distances. The structural integrity, usually with a higher, what we call front of center or FOC arrow, is going to have better structural integrity because you're usually using a brass or a longer aluminum insert interior, embedded inside of that shaft, and sometimes over the top. You'll have a insert outsert system with a footed shaft, a footed collar, basically over that shaft. That increases penetration. I don't think people know than just a standard aluminum insert. Can you be lethal and definitely fill your tag with a 350 or 300 grain arrow? Yes, you can. And there's a trade-off. There's trade-off with flatter trajectory over a slower trajectory. But everything in archery is a happy medium. So on arrows, I would say, we can help people out on that. That's not an issue. There's a lot of great manufacturers out there. Victory makes a great arrow. I'm a gold tip shooter in general. I just like their system. Love the way their system works with the weights that you can add to the back of the insert or take them out, depending upon what animal, or if you want to get into target season and shoot a lighter weight arrow. I'm a firm believer in whatever you're going to hunt with is what you want to shoot, unless you're going to delve into the target world, and then you probably need to buy a target bow. But arrows and broadheads. I mean, when I walk up to the broadhead aisle in our store, they're like, "What broadhead?" I kind of back out of there. That's like me telling you, "Hey, who should I marry?" I'm not having into that.
There you go. You know what? We've got some questions here.
Okay.
If you want to dive right into them, do you mind fielding a few questions from folks that have asked online?
No, not a bit.
Okay, so I'm going to pin you down here. In your opinion, what are the three most technologically advanced bows on the market today?
Oh man, you can get me in trouble too. I would say based off of what we have, I have yet to shoot the Halon 32 or the 30 yet. I have shot them from customers' boats, but I haven't had any time behind them. So, they have that new cross-centric cam that's, basically based off the no cam technology. So, I would love to say that's a great cam system, and I'm sure it is. I'm sure most people are going to love it. I mean, based off the reviews and the amount of people that have bought that Halon bow in this past year, I'm sure that the Halon 32 is going to be a phenomenal performer. I would say opinion-based, I'd probably have to say the PSE this year has released an Evolve Cam. Anything with that Evolve Cam system is nice. It's a beautiful system. I mean, it's very tunable, very stable, optional. This is the cool thing. Optional 80, 85, or 90%, all on the same cam. And that's they have it in their Evolve 31, which is their aluminum bow, the Evolve 35, and they also have it in their carbon models. That's a great bow. I think both the Bowtech Rain, the Rain 6 and Rain 7 are a phenomenal shooting bow. Here's what I tell people. Expedition makes a little SS Explorer. That's a little barn burner. I mean, that thing it's a flamethrower. Everybody makes a good bow, and that's a generic question. I'm trying to condense this down, but everybody makes a great bow. It's going to be specific.
No,
it's going to be specific to the shooter.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. All right, this next question is near and dear to my heart because I have 2 young kids too, and it says, at what age is it appropriate for me to get my kids into archery, and what is the best way to dip their toe in the pond?
What was that last part?
And what is the best way to dip their toe into the pond? In other words, how is the best way, if you've got young kids, what's the easiest way to get them into archery?
Take them with you. Definitely take them with you. Let them, start off on a not an expensive bow. Start off letting them shoot a Genesis bow. Something that goes from 6 to 12 pounds, 10 to 20 pounds. A lot of kids at a younger age, especially my little girl when she first started, she had a little mini Genesis, and I didn't put a sight on it. All I did was I put a full containment rest on it. And a lot of times conceptually, kids at a younger age have a hard time doing multitasking. And with archery, it requires a discipline to multitask, from anchor points and your peep side and picking up spot and aiming with what pin. So there's a lot going on. I let her just shoot. I let her watch the arrow flight. As humans and as sportsmen and sportswomen, for some reason, we just like to see stuff come out of a projectile, come out of something. I don't know what it is, but I just love watching the arrow flight. It's something just hypnotic about it. So kids like that. They enjoy that. They like seeing that. They like seeing stuff hit. Let them shoot at balloons. If they can't pull it back or they find that they're losing interest in it, I'm gonna jump back to the crossbow round. I mean, that's definitely you still got to be close. They're still seeing a projectile. They're still seeing the arrow flight, but they're more accurate with it in a sense too. Starting off, and you don't want their first experience with the bow and arrow to be bad, although it's going to happen. It very well could happen, but with a crossbow, you have a little bit more precision. You don't have to have any holding weight back. If you go to a 3D shoot, these 3D tournaments, that's a great place to take your kids, especially with them. Let them go. Let them walk the course with you and let them watch them shoot. If they show any interest in it, which they will, that's a great place. Then you can start kind of slowly walking into it. I will answer this part of the question too. Probably one of the other number one comments we get when we get people to come in here is they say, I want to get a bow, but I don't want to spend too much money because I don't know if they'll like it. That's understandable. However, a lot of times they buy a cheaper bow, or they go out and they find a discount bow at, let's just say Wally World. I hate to say it, but Wally World, and they find a bow. A lot of times these are bows that I see a lot of people that they pick up this bow and they bring it in, and the kids aren't accurate with it. It's not fun to shoot. The draw force curve is terrible. They're all over the map. Guess what? That kid or woman or new person is done with the sport of archery just because of a bad experience. I would say spend the money on it. Let us work with them, and let's formulate a lifelong activity the first time. Don't buy it. We always tell people buy the bow 2 or 3 times over, trying to find out the right bow for the kid, and it's not. It's just if you buy nice, not twice, it's usually the best option. I hope that answered the question.
It did very well, and I'll tell you one tip you just gave me that's just phenomenal. And I get, this is how you earned your pro card here. Is I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and you can only hold their attention with bows. They shoot recurves now just for fun, and you're right. They love watching that arrow hit the target, but one thing that I never thought of doing is just going to HEB and buying some blow up balloons and sticking them on the target and letting them pop it. They would just have a ball with that. So that is a great tip right there to get kids excited. You're right. We like watching them fly, and everybody likes popping balloons. I don't care how old you get.
Sure. Well, it's instant gratification if you hit it.
Yep.
And kids need that. Kids need it. I need instant gratification.
I know that feeling. Okay, so let me switch gears again on you and go back to some questions.
Okay.
how do people know when they walk in and it's the right fit for them and their pro shop?
How do you know?
Yeah.
I think it's just like kind of finding and it's kind of like finding them, you know. I think you just know. I mean, that's a very generic answer. I just think you know. I mean, there's a certain sincerity. I think once you find somebody that cares and knows, you know, really cares about helping somebody. You know, I think if you go and buy something else, if you had a good experience buying a vehicle, per se, you know, you'll know. You know what, I'm going to deal with this guy again. He really helped me. He didn't try to do this. He knew my budget. This is where he wanted to be. He was respectful of that, and you know, we're on good terms. I'm gonna stick with it. I think that's you know, there's a trust issue with anything. You know, there's definitely a trust issue with anything, and that's one thing that we really pride ourselves on, is making sure that when people, you know, they're a lot of people are hesitant. I mean, especially I would say guys in general and guys that have been shooting for 15 to 20 years, you know, or 10 years for that matter. They're resistant. So I'm very, you know, I'm standoffish, but I'm also asking a lot of questions. Hey, would you consider, what if this, you know, try to be as modest as I can about this. I do not know everything about archery. I promise you that. I promise you. I'm constantly learning. I love it. My wife makes fun of me. She's like, Aaron, you leave work, you go to work and you study archery, you work on it all day, and you come home and you do the same thing, and then on the weekends you're going hunting or you're doing something. I said, it's hard not to. It's a lifestyle. It becomes part of you, and you know, I think that to answer the person's question, I think you just kind of know. You just kind of, you have to trust that, you know, what they're telling you is correct, and if that trust has proven itself in the field and you know, in your mind, and I think they found a home.
Okay, got another question for you. This is a good one. I think it's one I struggle with too, and that is, how important is speed?
Well, you have to have speed in order to have, you know, you have to have speed to get the arrow there, right? You have to have some kind of speed. I mean, if you measure kinetic energy, it's speed times 2 plus the arrow weight. So, and divided by 450, 240, if you're going to get, you know, if we're going to go nerd on me, if I'm going to go nerd on you. But the biggest thing I would say is shoot the heaviest arrow you can shoot accurately at the distances you normally will shoot. So if I'm shooting 20 yards and I shoot a 682 grain weight arrow, random number, and then I shoot a 450 grain weight arrow, and the difference in drop is 1.5 inches, right? I'm not saying somebody should shoot a 682 grain weight arrow, but if you're hunting, you know, I'd rather hit something with a hammer than to hit them with a wiffle ball bat. You know what I'm saying? So speed, you have to get the arrow there. There's a point of diminishing returns. That's what I'm saying. It depends. You go out west, you might need a flatter trajectory, but do not overlook the momentum. A lot of people look at kinetic energy. They'll see a 320 foot per second arrow, and they'll see, oh, it's 78 pounds of 78 KE. They'll go and they'll look at a 275 or 280 foot per second, and it's showing 76 pounds of kinetic energy. Well, they're like, well, this is shooting 40 foot a second. I don't want to stick with this. But what they don't see is what they call the momentum, the joules, the JOULES. That's the momentum. That's what the arrow does upon impact. That lighter arrow is slowing down as soon as it leaves the bow because of the mass weight that's behind it. It's physics. Physics works 100% of the time, all the time. So once that arrow hits that target, it's slowing down that lighter weight arrow. So you make a questionable shot on a bone with a speed bow and a speedy arrow, you're probably not going to get the penetration. You hit it perfect, you'll probably be okay. I want an arrow that if I misjudge the yardage a little bit, but I'm still in the vital cavity, that I don't have to worry about penetration or you know, any kind of penetration issue. So I think it's finding that happy medium, what you can live with.
Okay. Well, that takes care of the next question, because the next question was describe the importance of arrow weight. And I think that's what you did, is you got to find an arrow weight that matches your speed to produce the most force.
Sure. And I'll tell you this, speed exaggerates mistakes, right? So and I use this analogy a lot. Let's say you've got a motorcycle, one of the Kawasaki Ninjas, right? And you're driving, 130 miles an hour on the straightaway, and you barely just torque that handlebar. You're sayonara. You're probably going to be off in a ditch somewhere. But you do that at 30, at 30 miles an hour, it's going to be a little bit more correctable. So speed will exaggerate form flaws as well. Not to mention, once you add a fixed blade broadhead on the front of an arrow that's going over a certain speed limit, you start getting into planing, you start getting into, broadhead flight. And once you add wings on the front of something, there's a chance that it can get sketchy. You're changing the aerodynamic principle of that arrow. So you have to be, you have to know exactly what your bow can do at a certain speed as well. Can it shoot fixed blade heads good? Can it group better with a mechanical? Can it shoot this? So, speed is great, but also speed exaggerates mistakes. What did Wyatt Earp say? Speed is great, but accuracy is final. I think that's right. I might have screwed that up.
Yeah, hey, I like it. I like that a lot. Talk about we got another question about crossbows. Talk a little bit about crossbows. Crossbows, Archery Trade Association this year, ATA, was kind of filled with crossbows, and more than I had ever seen. Talk a little bit about crossbows emerging on the scene of archery.
Definitely a great transitional tool. I know we covered that a little bit earlier. I think here's where I see the advantage of the crossbows, right? Especially this with women, kids, me particularly. I'm not a guy that likes a lot of recoil or a lot of noise. I'm kind of I sleep with earplugs in my ear because I'm noise sensitive in a sense. So a lot of times with the impact and the recoil, the kids flinch. The women, they'll flinch, or a guy, they'll flinch the trigger. But with these crossbows, they have very, very little residual vibration. I mean, it's very, very small. But they don't kick. You can actually see the arrow hid inside the scope a lot of the time. So, that's a great tool for somebody that is very scared about or apprehensive about the recoil and the noise associated with a firearm. And that's understood. You see that a lot. We see that quite a bit, actually. So the cool thing about it that I would say about the crossbows, it allows people to really appreciate animals at a close distance. It becomes more intimate. It becomes more personal. It becomes more close. You become more, you actually can appreciate being that close up to an animal. In terms of the crossbow technology and everything, that's a lot of the market is shifting a little bit that way, but not, it's still compounds that definitely dominate for sure. But I think the reason why we're seeing that growth in crossbows is because, again, it's kind of, I'm not gonna say it's untapped, but there's so much new stuff coming out every year that, they're trying to push, and a lot of the states are pushing, they're becoming legal during archery season. Now, like perfect example, we just got in for 2017. We got the Raven crossbows, right? You've probably seen these R9s. That the limbs are just incredibly compact. You can fit when they're completely cocked, you can fit a dollar bill between the limb tip. That's how compact these things are. And they're shooting 390 foot a second. And we have taken people out in the back of the store here. And we've set a Glendale buck target out there at 100 yards. And we've taken 10 separate people, Patrick, with this bow. Now, I'm not advocating this, but we can shoot a 2-inch post-it note, 2-inch group at 100 yards effortlessly with this thing. It's a pretty cool piece of equipment. I mean, that's a cool bow. Excalibur makes one of the best crossbows on the market, durable. They consider them the 4x4 of the archery world. You can decock them in the field. Everything is simplistic. There's no cams, no anything. It's a recurve limb style. You know, there's a lot of good crossbows out there, but there's a lot of money pits though as well. A lot of money pits.
Aaron, I think you've gone a long time, brother. I appreciate it on the call. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
Man, I'll tell you what. I'm sure there is. I would just probably leave this. You know, I'll leave it up to you on how you want to close it out. But I will tell people, the listeners, if you're going to do one thing when it comes to archery or anything involved in archery, I would definitely consider, you know, find your reputable pro shop. You know, preferably Hoffy's Archery. If I'm going to plug myself, I might as well, right? So we would like to see. You know, we would like to see people make it a lifelong activity, and it's fun. It's very therapeutic. You know, get sized up the right way. Make sure, you know, your draw length, your poundage, everything is right for you. I mean, there's probably nothing more rewarding than taking somebody completely new to the sport, which is they're our best customers as far as retention and not having to break bad habits. And to take them, especially a woman for example, and take them in the back. They have little to no confidence in what they're fixing to do, in a very, very growing women market, but very male dominated. And to take them back there and watch them transition into somebody that had no confidence, and to just talking trash before they leave here to their husband about, you know what, that's rewarding to me. It's like, you know what, you just gave this person confidence to do almost anything. That, you know, you're taking somebody that just kind of passive about it, don't know if they're, you know, they don't really know if they're really going to like it, and the next thing you know, they're blossoming into something. You know, I mean, and it's a testament. It's a testament to the sport. It's a testament to the industry, and we take pride in that. I would just say, just find you a good place and come and see us. We'll definitely take care of the people.
Well, listen, I want to do something, if you don't mind. I'd like to give the folks on the call today a little bit of reward for listening here to us. And if you don't mind, what would you think about giving folks about a 10% discount on a new piece of equipment or service or something if they're stopped by the shop there at Hoffy's in Lampasas?
I think that's a great idea. I would like that. I'd like to see people come in and we could talk to them and educate them. They don't have to buy anything, but we could, you know, we'll definitely honor that for sure. I think if we did, I think 10% would be nice, man, on accessories and service work. Anybody needing anything, come in. They just might need an old bow service. We'll definitely take care of them. I think that's a great idea.
Aaron, I can't tell you thank you enough. Listen, folks out there, if you haven't been to Hoffy's Archery in Lampasas, stop by. Aaron and the rest of the crew there are first class. Their professionalism is second to none. Those guys really know archery. They know their equipment, and they're easy to deal with. You'll feel right at home. And take it from me, I hope you buy something. You'll be very pleased with what you do. So, Aaron, thank you again for everything, buddy. We'll get this out for folks to listen to again. We've recorded it and we'll post it out there for folks to listen to. So if you have customers or anyone else that might be interested in listening in, feel free to share it with them, okay?
All right, sounds good. Hey, Patrick, thanks for having me. We appreciate it, okay?
Yes, sir. Take care.
All right, we'll talk to y'all later.
All right, bye-bye.